Good day, everyone. Welcome to your self-help quest. I am your host, Joshua Melissus, and joining me today is Katlyn Mozingo, who is the president of NAMI at the Missouri State University campus. Kat, thank you for being here.
Of course, glad to be here.
So, you're the president of NAMI, and I'm wondering, what is, just for our audience, what is NAMI and what are the goals of your organization?
So NAMI stands for National Alliance on Mental Illness. It's actually a national organization. So there's actually a Hope Center located in Springfield, Missouri that people can go to for resources. And NAMI on campus is actually kind of a part of that. And it's the only mental health club on campus. So rather than learning about professional careers in mental health, it's more of topics and presenters coming in talking about the different topics of mental health. So yeah, that's just a little bit of what NAMI is.
And there's other locations, right?
Yes. So NAMI on campus is just a group, and it's just an extended version of NAMI. We bring different professionals from actual NAMI in to talk about things like Tell Your Story, the different resources that NAMI provides in Springfield, Missouri at the Hope Center. The Hope Center is actually a location where people can get food. They have a food pantry. They also have mental health resources group therapy. They have a crisis line, and they have all those different resources that someone who doesn't have insurance or anything, it's free. So
that's nice.
Yeah, yes, yeah. Definitely.
When do you meet, and what type of events do you do?
So we meet every other Monday at 7 p.m. We have all different types of topics revolving around mental health. Our next meeting is about criminal profiling, which is what I want to get into after college. So it's just kind of those different topics. We try to take the topics that people want to know or be educated on. But we do some basic topics. The first meetings we have is mental health 101. And we also do implicit bias training. So that's a requirement that we have just because, everyone has mental illness. I mean, not mental illness, mental health. Everyone suffers from that. And it's just not one person. And in order to know that, you have to be trained in implicit bias or something like diversity training. We think that's very important in our group, and I think NAMI thinks that's very important as a national organization too. And another requirement that we have is actually volunteering. So we are required to do 3 hours of volunteering. We want to do, volunteering at NAMI, but we want our group to get out into the community because not everyone is from Springfield at MSU. So we want them to be able to get out into the community, know Springfield, and just help the people that are, going through a tough time as well. So,
I guess just getting a little personal, but
Mm-hmm.
Do you have mental health issues, and if so, what are they?
So yes, ever since I was little, I've always had, mental health problems, mental illness. Ever since I was younger, they told me I had bipolar. I didn't really know what that meant. My mom would tell me that I had bipolar because she also had bipolar. It kind of progressed into my, middle school, high school. High school is when it really got bad. I noticed, oh, I really do have bipolar. And I just still didn't know what it meant until I went to a therapist in sophomore year of high school. So I was 16, 17. And I didn't really discover, I had mental illness until that time. I was really suffering with my negative thoughts. I was very insecure. I was a very insecure person. And I during high school, my freshman year, I went through a really bad breakup. And that kind of turned into, those negative thoughts, negative perception on life. I really just wanted to die. I cut myself. I did all those destructive behaviors. And I never really sought help until I reached out to my mom. And she got me into therapy. And then I started taking antidepressants. It's funny because the first antidepressant that I actually took, it made me have more anxiety, made me have more maladaptive thoughts and behaviors. And it was not great. And so we switched to another medication, and I've been on that since, and it's been pretty good. So throughout the years, I've been doing really, really better. I've been going to therapy, just doing all those things that, help you with that. Because mental illness, there's no cure for it. There's no cure. So you're just going to have to, go day by day with that. But that's something that I feel like a lot of people don't realize. Like, they want that cure. They want to get over this negative period in their life. But it's all about, like, growing from that and growing and knowing that you have that and it's okay and it's normal, because so many people have mental illness, and you just have to take it day by day.
Yeah.
So.
And, like, with the medication part, because I've heard that that's, like, a common occurrence. Like, you have to find, like, the medication that suits you.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, like, with, like, antidepressants, because I've heard that, like, when you first take it, you kind of, like, more depressed, like, for the first few weeks.
Yes. So actually the doctors tell you that, it's not a quick fix. It's going to take a month or two to actually kick in, to actually help you. And I didn't really see any changes the first year that I kind of took it. I think I was just kind of in that like rock bottom state, to be honest, because, I wanted help, but I also didn't. I feel like whenever I was in that time period, like, I craved that negative feeling. I wanted to always be sad because it was something that I was used to and something that I could always resort to, because I just felt like being happy, being cheerful just wasn't what I wanted to be. And it's weird because, like, I was always mad, I was always depressed. I just wanted to stay in that state because it was something I was used to, like I just said. But yeah, like, the antidepressants, I just feel it doesn't kick in until a while, and I feel like a lot of people lose hope and just scratch it because after 2 weeks, because they don't see any change. And something that I would like to comment on for that is antidepressants aren't just going to be the only, like, they can't just be the only resort. You have to do things for your mental health. You need to, go on a walk, drink some coffee, do things that make you feel good and make your mental health better. But also, I recommend definitely going to therapy with medication, because I've been in a few psych classes already, so research has shown, the combination between therapy and antidepressants works better than just one or the other.
I guess, like, how often do you experience, like, these issues? Like, is it like a daily basis, or?
It really depends. Like I said, mental illness is it's all over the place. Like, one day you could be totally fine, next day you're down, you're rock bottom. And I think that's the interesting part about it. It's like, you could have an amazing day, the best day ever. Next day it's worst day ever. That's how it goes for me. Like, and my breakdowns is what I call them. Like, they happen so quickly. It's kind of hard to, like, see them coming. And I feel like that's part of bipolar too, because, you're constantly, you're in a manic state for a while and then you go to depression, Yeah. So it's kind of hard to manage that. But throughout the years, I've really, like I said, I've evaluated my behavior. I understand what triggers me and what doesn't. And I understand that not everything is meant to hurt me. And I think that's really what I had to implant in my brain. Like, not everything is out to get you. And that was the biggest part. And also my insecurity and stuff. And it's just off and on. It's weird. I feel like that's how it is for a lot of people. But who knows? Yeah. That's just how it is for me.
What do you do, like, if the coping mechanisms don't help?
I cry.
Same.
I think coping mechanisms are very good to a certain extent, but sometimes just let it all out. Let all that anger, let all those emotions out. People really hold. I being guilty of that. Like, I really hold in my emotions until, one day it's just like, I need to get it all out. I think people do that just because they don't want that feeling. And I get that, because that feeling of breaking down is the worst feeling ever. And it's hard to keep your composure too whenever you're holding all that in. Letting it out after that, it just feels so good, because you feel like you've expelled all the negative stuff, at least for that day,
Yeah.
But yeah, I think crying it out, letting it all go.
So, what does, like, an average self-care day look like for you?
I'd say, I'd wake up probably around like 11 or 12, sleep in a little bit, do my skincare stuff, eat a really good breakfast. I usually eat like a bagel with cream cheese and stuff and like grapes. Just like a really good, like not hefty breakfast, but a good amount. And then probably, put on a really good outfit because I love style. I love like my style and everything. I love wearing all black. I love self-expression. That's a big thing for me. So put on a really good outfit, look good, take a few pictures because I love to do a little photo shoot. And then just go out for the day, like have plans, even if it's just by myself. Like I really love doing things by myself. I think that's something that a lot of people are scared to do, but once you do it and you keep on doing it, it's just like so easy and so fun. Like you don't have to look after anyone, you don't have to keep a conversation with anyone. Enjoying nature is like a really good day for me because although I love to be a vampire and stay in all day in the dark, I love the sun and going out and just seeing like nature and everything. And yeah, that's a really good self-care day.
So I guess, what do you think is like the next step you need to accomplish like in your personal evolution?
I think the next step would be kind of figuring out like kind of the one thing that I really am trying to fix myself on is like my insecurity. And I think for anyone that is so hard to do because I've always been an insecure person. I think just the things that I've done like and the things that have happened to me growing up, like it's always been just like it's my body that I'm insecure about, and I feel like a lot of people can relate with that because of social media and the body image that women are supposed to have, especially women, but also men too, because it's a big part of everyone. I feel like body image, especially in America, but yeah, I think that's my next step. Really resolving and healing from kind of like the past issues that I've had with my insecurity about my body, and just that. Because I feel like I'm kind of in this kind of zone where I feel like I need to get to that next step in order to feel fully healed. Of course, I'm never going to be fully healed, but, just fully healed,
Yeah.
So that's kind of my next step.
So, like, one of the things that I personally struggle with is self-love.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, like, it's especially, like, hard after, like, making, like, a lot of mistakes,
Yes.
And, like, how do you, like, learn to love yourself, like, after, like, doing all these, like, mistakes and, like, moving on?
So, from a really young age, I never really grasped the concept of loving myself, and I think I put that insecurity into relationships at a young age, and that turned out really bad because, I never took the time for myself to love myself because I was constantly, in high school, like you're constantly wanting to do things that other people are doing for that attention that they're getting. And I feel like I was constantly chasing after things that I really wasn't, like that wasn't me. And doing things that were popular and just, I didn't really know what I was. And of course, you're not going to know who you are in high school, but I was just constantly chasing the wrong things and also chasing, boys and relationships and putting myself into those relationships. And I feel like I was a very controlling person because of my insecurities and, wanting to be that girl that everyone was like, oh my gosh, like you're so gorgeous and everything. And all the boys wanting me. And I feel like a lot of people go through that where they put themselves in relationships in order to be fulfilled, in order to love themselves. But it's kind of opposite than that. You have to really take time for yourself, understand yourself, know what you love about yourself. And if you don't love those things about yourself, start, doing things like looking at yourself and being like, oh, you look like affirmations in the mirror. You say, I am powerful, I am loved, like I am beautiful. I think it's silly at first, but once you start doing it, you start noticing things about yourself that you actually do like, and that you haven't noticed before that are actually beautiful. And leading up to, having that self-love for you. You may not fully love yourself. You may not fully be confident, but it's those little things that matter. And I kind of want to go back to like the relationship part because I feel like everything is so centered around love with other people and not self-love. And so many women and so many men like make mistakes about like going into relationships when they're so insecure, and they don't know it because they're seeking that love of other people for that validation, and they don't know they're doing it, which I did that before too, and it turned out to be a really toxic relationship. And it's just I feel like people have to go through that in order to realize, oh, I need to love myself. People constantly say, I wish I didn't do that. I wish I didn't do this. If I didn't go through that relationship, I would not be as confident as I am today. I wouldn't be as mindful as I am today. I just wouldn't have the mindset I have. And I'm thankful for that toxic relationship, which sounds so weird because I am the person today because of that relationship. And it was hard. It was hard to get over, really hard. It was the hardest time in my life, but I'm thankful for it. I'm thankful for the obstacles that I've gone through in order to be who I am today. So
I guess we should talk about the big elephant in the room, which is COVID-19 pandemic. How do you think COVID has affected depression numbers?
It's definitely affected a lot of things. Self-isolation, especially when people, have had these connections with people, constantly seeing people, and then they had to completely self-isolate. And I know a lot of, extroverted people were so timid and so, angry about that. And it caused a lot of, mental health problems. And also, another thing is, that self-isolation makes you go through those thoughts constantly in that state. You're just alone and self-isolating, and you're constantly with your thoughts. I feel like it also helped a lot of people in ways because they actually realized, oh, I have these thoughts, what do they mean? And also social media, I feel like helped and didn't at the same time because, there's all these education things, especially TikTok when it was really big during the pandemic. I learned a lot of stuff from there, especially mental health stuff. And there was just a lot of education and different resources for people that I felt really improved people, but at the same time, that self-isolation definitely hurt a lot of people. My mom actually passed away this summer due to COVID. So it's been really hard, and I can't imagine, still having to self-isolate and not being able to go to the hospital when your loved one died. Because, a year ago, this is kind of rude, but a year ago, if she passed away, I wouldn't have been able to go to the hospital. But I was lucky this past summer, because I was able to go up there and see her before she passed away. So I'm really thankful for that. But especially if your loved ones died or anyone close to you died because of COVID, that is so upsetting and terrible. And I can't imagine, death is such a weird concept and such a weird thing to think about. And for me, I know it makes me spiral because I'm where do they go? What is death? Afterlife and everything like that. It's a crazy concept, and it's sad. And that's definitely affected a lot of, people's, especially depression and anxiety. And I feel if you're self-isolating after your loved one passed away, you're constantly thinking about that. You're constantly going through the motions, thinking about what happened. You're not distracting yourself. And it's hard to, especially when you're self-isolating. What are you going to do in the house? You could binge watch Netflix, but, those thoughts are still going to come up. And I feel it's an important aspect to be able to go out and connect with other people because it's kind of a healing thing, making plans, going out, coping mechanisms. So
how do we combat the stigma against mental health?
That is a big question. I feel people have these certain, stereotypes and everything about what mental illness should be and what it should look like. But in reality, everyone suffers from mental illness, maybe a few people out there are really, really doing well. But mental health, affects every person, regardless of race, gender, ethnicity, anything. And it's hard to grasp that concept because you're constantly seeing things on social media that are oh, well, if you have crazy thoughts and all that kind of stuff. And I also think our healthcare system is just portraying mental illness in a way that's very deceiving, because I was in a program called GoCaps. It's called Greater Ozarks Centers for Advanced Professional Studies, and I was in the medicine and healthcare strand. So during high school, half the day we would go to like Mercy or Cox in Springfield, and we'd job shadow. We'd learn about the different fields in the medicine and healthcare field. We'd listen to guest speakers and everything like that. And I visited, the psychiatric units, the adult psychiatric unit at Cox North, and then the Marion Center, which is another psychiatric unit at Mercy. And I feel like the people that worked there, like, they weren't, I guess they just worked there for a long time, so they were probably used to it. But the way they kind of treated the people that, were coming in there, it was kind of like the stigma that you see with everyone. You see some dude downtown, like, who probably suffers from mental illness and is, homeless, and people judge that person. But those things kind of go hand in hand, addiction, mental illness, homelessness. That's a big problem here in Springfield. Big problem. And, people are quick to judge and quick to say, oh, well, if you didn't do this, you wouldn't be homeless. That is not the case at all. Because if those resources were open for those people, I bet, more than half would go and use those resources. But, there's insurance involved, there's money involved, and not everyone here has money. And I don't know, it's really hard to even, categorize the stigma on mental illness. But also, one thing that actually happened to me, whenever I was kind of seeking help in, my mental illness and everything, I really wanted to know what is wrong with me, So I went to the doctor, and my doctor, he was like, I explained what was going on. I was like, I'm kind of having these negative thoughts. I feel like I have, bipolar or borderline personality disorder, because I in my psych classes, I'm looking out for those things that I can kind of correlate with that I do, not self-diagnosing, don't self-diagose, that's bad, but, kind of realizing, oh, I do this, oh, I do that. So I went to my doctor, and I was like, blah, 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 I feel like I have this, and he's like, oh, well, do you have any crazy thoughts? Are you having crazy thoughts or anything? Crazy? And I'm like, why would you say it's crazy? That is just deterring people from actually wanting to get help and seeking help. And I feel like that's crazy, because the physicians and the professionals that you go to seek help or to get a referral for help, they kind of backtrack you and say and make you think that you're crazy. And I don't know why he chose those words, because you're a whole doctor. Why would you choose those words? But I don't know. If I was another person that didn't know what was going on, didn't fully understand myself and was kind of going through a really, really rough period, I would have been I would have backed away. I would have been like, oh, never mind, I'm crazy, I'm not normal, I shouldn't be here, whatever, that. It's crazy to me, because if I wasn't, okay, how would that make a non-okay person, How would it make them feel? So I think there's a huge stigma in the mental health field. I just know a few people that, were wanting to become nurses, wanting to become doctors, surgeons, and they kind of make fun of people that, have mental illness and show those signs of things, and non-accepting. If you're working in the mental health field, you're constantly interacting with people, constantly. And it's kind of crazy, because I'm like, you're in a field that you're connecting with people, you have to treat them correctly, you're trying to find out what's wrong with them, and mental health is a big aspect of that field. Especially, honestly, in any field, it's a big aspect. And I feel like a lot of professionals leave out the training for that. I feel like it's been getting a little bit better, but people don't pay attention, nor do they care. And it's crazy to me. It's really crazy. But I guess there's also, goes hand in hand with that, people's personality styles. It's weird. Just the stigma around mental health.
What would you tell students who are struggling at the moment?
It's really hard to get through things. But I think being patient, knowing that things will blow over, even though it does not feel like it. Like, I know, things will come and go, but I think that's the thing that people need to kind of heal with and understand, that things are not always going to be consistent. Things are not always going to, be negative, but also, take it day by day. I constantly think about the future and constantly think about, my next step and organizing the week. But also, it's important to realize that, not everything is going to go your way. And I used to always be so upset whenever things, did not go my way and things weren't on schedule. But I think that's something that a lot of people need to grasp and heal with, that life is just ever changing, and we're constantly going through motions and things like that. And it's okay to be upset when things are not going your way, but realizing that's part of life. And being able to overcome the things you're going through is so strong, and it's so crazy to me that how people can get out of those things and survive, because whenever I was in those positions, I feel like I can't survive. I can't go on in life. But there's something about the beauty of overcoming those things. And just, like I said, self-love, understanding yourself, and disregarding anyone else that, puts you down for the way you're acting. I feel like people act so shitty all the time, but in order to understand why they're acting shitty, you need to realize they're probably going through shit. They're probably going through so many things, and they really need to sit down and evaluate what's going on with themselves. So that's why I kind of perceive people, positively, and understand, they're having a really bad day and it's probably going to blow over. They just need to understand what's going on within themselves.
Before we leave, I want to ask you two last questions that I ask everyone. So what is something that has brought you immense joy today?
I would have to say putting on this outfit, feeling good and confident, and just the weather, and coming here. I love talking about, stuff, and I love communicating with people and interacting in new ways. So
what is something that you need to work on?
Like I said earlier, my insecurity. I feel like that's what a lot of people struggle with, but something I really need to work on.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. It's hard, and it's going to take a while, but, small steps.
Yeah. It's a struggle, especially in classes. Even in Zoom classes, I have those insecurities. So it's just hard to, presence, that's, the right word. Trying to make my mark, I guess, in the classroom, Because for the most part, I just kind of, just shut out, and
sit in the background and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, and just not talking or contributing to
yeah.
discussions.
I think that has to go hand in hand with kind of understanding yourself, like I've said this whole time. In order to be portrayed as, interactive and outgoing and everything like that, you kind of need to figure out what you love about yourself, how you can contribute to those things, how you can be better. Kind of self-expression too, because self-expression has helped me a lot. Although I am insecure, people portray me as being very confident, and it's weird because I'm I'm not really confident, but portraying, and you kind of have to act it out. In order to actually become that, you kind of need to act it. Like I said earlier with affirmations, it sounds silly to say, oh, I am beautiful, I am powerful, but when you constantly say that, you're going to start believing it. So that's a big part of it.
And that's what I've been kind of doing with cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yes.
Just replacing those negative thoughts with positive ones.
Yes. It's hard, but
yeah,
you can do it. So.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
Of course.
And everyone, make sure to support NAMI.
Yes.
And thank you so much for watching and listening. For more content, please check out Your Self-Help Quest on Spotify and Apple. And I hope you all have a very beautiful day. and make sure to take care of yourselves, or I will be
Yes.
sad. Peace.